It may have been a loss on the field for the Tennessee Titans, but the overall outcome can only be described as a massive positive for Tennessee. They have locked up the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft by virtue of today's loss against the Texans and the Patriots' upset win over the Buffalo Bills. The top 5 draft order for the 2025 NFL Draft is set. Tennessee has the number 1 overall pick. The Browns at number 2. The Giants at number 3. The Patriots at number 4. And the Jags at number 5. So Tennessee has complete control over this year's NFL Draft thanks to what was a collapse down the stretch and might bode well for them better in the long term. Now, we will have a ton of Titans NFL Draft coverage for you right here on the channel. Do not miss out. Coverage about to get ramped up because you got the number 1 overall pick. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. Now, with the news of Tennessee securing that number 1 overall pick, I want to spend some time on the top 2025 NFL draft targets. And in many ways, this is 2, 3, maybe 4 players who I think you'll really consider, barring a trade down, which I also don't think we should rule out for Tennessee. And it begins with the quarterback spot, because how can it not begin? What is disheartening for Tennessee, or at least maybe a bit of a double-edged sword, this is not last year's quarterback class. This is not a Caleb Williams caliber player. There is not a Jaden Daniels caliber player. There is not a Drake May caliber player. From a general consensus draft grade perspective, this is going to be a little bit more of some J.J. McCarthy, some Bo Nix, some Michael Penix-esque grades from this quarterback class. There's 2 guys that stand out right now. It's Cam Ward of the Miami Hurricanes and Shedeur Sanders of the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, I think the Hurricanes' plan was to sit Cam Ward, so I'm not going to read too much into that. There are strengths and negatives for both of these players. Shedeur Sanders, highly accurate. Doesn't have the overwhelming physical skill set. Does tend to hold the ball a little bit long at times. Is not a cannon for an arm quarterback. Is not a great runner. Not an incredible dual threat. But it's accurate. Takes care of the football for the most part. Executes the offense the way coaches like. You do wonder about Daddy a little bit. Cam Ward, meanwhile, is the gunslinger. If you want to go back to some previous comparisons, you could have Jared Goff as Shedeur Sanders and good version of Carson Wentz, Cam Ward. Emphasis on the good version there. Ward will hold the ball too long. He will make bad decisions. He will turn the football over. He'll also hold that ball and make a 45-yard play out of nothing and give you excitement. Both guys, better options long-term than what we've seen so far out of Will Levis. So, do you want to draft a quarterback in round 1? Why for yes and for no? Go vote at the pinned comment of today's show. Now look, taking a quarterback fills the biggest need on the roster. It gives the fan base hope. If the Titans trot back out Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, not a single one of us, even my 3-year-old daughter, is going to be like, yeah, this is a good move. It's just not going to work. You have to bring a new quarterback in. And the number 1 overall pick, however you spend it, will get your regime extended, new deals, extensions, all of it, or everyone gets fired. That's how this works in the NFL. So if you think Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, or maybe the wild card option of Drew Allar can maximize your team, can save your jobs, you have to take them. It's not a conversation. Now, Allar has said he plans on returning to Penn State. They're in the CFP semifinals. If he plays great against Notre Dame and/or makes the championship game and plays well there too, he might go pro. He has prototypical size. He has the arm strength. He is not necessarily a statue in the pocket. There are moments of that is just not consistent play at all. There are real lapses of great play to, what the hell was that, buddy? That was a terrible throw. And the general inconsistency might be put on display against Notre Dame. But I did want to mention him, even though I think it's Shedeur and Cam as the top candidates to be the first quarterback taken in this year's class. Some other names we'll get to here in a little bit, but today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. It is now playoff time. Not for Tennessee, but for the college football playoffs. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football with PrizePicks. This is our flex play. Emphasis on that part. I could have mentioned Quinn Ewers, but I am not touching him in round 1. That is a terrible idea. He is still inconsistent as a downfield passer. I don't want that one at all. Jeremiah Smith, more than receiving yards. That's why I took Quinn Ewers, less than passing yards. Travion Henderson, more than yards on the ground. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Now, if you're not going quarterback via trade down or otherwise, the number one, again, general consensus quote-unquote player is Travis Hunter. He had 1,000-plus yards this year, 15 touchdowns, while playing both ways, which is really impressive. His 2024 coverage stats. He was targeted 41 times. He allowed 1 touchdown with 4 interceptions. That ratio is really, 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 really good. I would wonder if Hunter wants to play wide receiver more than corner, which might be a better fit for Tennessee, given their investments in the cornerback room. I want to play him both ways. Everyone says, oh, he can't do it in the NFL. You said that in college, too, and he kept doing it at a pretty elite level. I think if you ignore positional value, most people, not all, you can never get consensus in the NFL, most people have Hunter at number 1. When you combine all those consensus boards, all the different people, Hunter will be number 1. So who do you want to draft in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft? Potentially at pick number 1, barring a trade down. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I will mention some other names, maybe some trade down names. I'm a big fan of Abdul, the Penn State pass rusher. Again, watch him in the CFP semifinals. 22 TFLs, 11 sacks, a blistering 18.1% pressure rate this year. Edge is not necessarily the biggest need. If you trade on let's say trade on 4 with the Giants or something, Carter would be a great option for you. Tet McMillan, if you want a big body receiver, kind of in the T. Higgins mold, he does more. Higgins is still kind of like your position guy. McMillan is he's listed at 6'5", 212, but he plays like he's 6'1", 210. He's kind of like the inverse of DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is not that big. He's 6'1". McMillan plays like he's 6'1", despite being 6'5", but that's because he's so dynamic after the catch. I don't mean that as a negative at all. You want to pair him with Calvin Ridley? When you were in line to pick number 7 a month ago, McMillan was an obvious candidate for me. Now that you're at 1, though, boy, it sure seems like quarterback is just to get that QB in there and build around him might be your best bet if you believe in one of the guys on the board. Some other top prospects, kind of get us to near 10. Mason Graham, but you got Jeffrey Simmons. Will Johnson is a good corner, but do you need a corner? Luther Burden is, again, a deep trade down candidate. I'll mention offensive line. I like Kelvin Banks more than I like Will Campbell. I think he's just a better prospect for the NFL. I think he played better this year too. O-line's a need. Yeah, I would strongly consider. We'll do a mock draft this week. I would consider quarterback 1, offensive lineman in round 2, or receiver in round 2. Maybe even go receiver round in day 3 throughout. I think that could put you in a good spot there. But Tennessee now controls the NFL draft. They have the number 1 pick. Everything went their way from that perspective down the stretch this year. So how confident are you in the Brian Callahan, Rand Carthon-led regime to get this pick right and set Tennessee up for success in a not looking all that great AFC South? Give me your confidence levels 1 to 10 in the comments of today's show.